Tonight, the Nolan Wells investigation into the death of a shining star, Nolan Wells, has an altercation witness emerged. A witness that claims she saw an altercation at Horn.
The district attorney said the grand jury would receive all the evidence collected in the case. But evidence only matters if someone actually hands it over. Think of a cell phone sitting at the bottom of a boat bag, not lost, not destroyed, just never turned on. The screen still holds the timestamp. The timestamp still holds the truth. And for 2 days, nobody looked at it.
What witnesses? Where? Who, what, where, why, and when?
I have not spoken publicly about this before, but I witnessed an altercation involving Nolan Wells from a boat nearby. What I saw has stayed with me, and I believe it's important information. I have provided.
A new witness now claims she saw an altercation on Horn Island. Not a rumor, not a theory. A direct account placed in writing describing an argument that escalated after a dispute involving Nolan Wells' phone.
Or intend to provide my account to the appropriate investigators because Nolan's family deserves the truth. Out of respect for the ongoing investigation, I won't speculate beyond what I personally observed. While I was on the boat near the area, I witnessed an altercation involving Nolan Wells and
she says she heard Nolan yelling for his phone to be returned. Then she says the argument continued after the group reached shore. Then she describes a physical fight involving Nolan and multiple people. Then she says a young woman told them to stop.
Several other individuals. I saw what appeared to be an argument that escalated after there was a dispute involving Nolan's phone. I heard Nolan yelling for his phone to be returned. The argument continued after the group reached shore, and I observed a physical fight involving Nolan and multiple people. I also observed a young woman telling them to stop. At that point, I left the area because the situation had appeared to be getting worse.
And then she left. She did not remain long enough to witness what happened afterward. Read that again. She saw enough to describe a fight. She saw enough to describe a phone being withheld. She saw enough to describe a woman trying to intervene, but she did not see what happened next. The paperwork already knew.
The individuals that she saw, hey, I just want to say I was a passenger on another boat and I saw the argument between you guys and we'll go to the police with this information. I also have video footage. My husband doesn't show much, but it shows the argument that was taken and how you guys were upset at Nolan because of the young lady.
That from Secret Service Sam on TikTok.
Now she says she messaged one of the individuals she saw. Her words, I saw the argument between you guys and will go to the police with this information. She also says she has video footage. Her husband took it. It does not show much, she admits, but it shows the argument.
If there is a witness who has a husband with her on the boat and they took a certain amount of video, it could change everything, especially if the video is time stamped. Straight out to veteran trial lawyer, defense attorney Philip Dubet joining me. He's joining us out of LA.
A time-stamped video from a boat near Horn Island on July 4th would not be a minor detail. It would establish whether Nolan Wells was still alive after the Triton left at approximately 4:30. It would either corroborate or collapse the timeline provided by the acquaintances who say they left without him.
Philip, first of all, has she turned it into police? She said she was. If she hasn't, I give her no credibility at all. Look, I want this to be true. Why? Because I want the video. I want to see the timestamp on the video. I want to see, was he still on Horn Island at 4:30 when his acquaintances on the Triton boat left? I want that video. And if she hasn't brought this forward to LE, law enforcement, then it means nothing to.
Veteran trial lawyer Philip Dubet raised the central problem. If the witness has not given the video to law enforcement, then her public statements mean nothing. Not because she is lying, but because an investigation runs on evidence, not online posts.
To me, I mean, if I know a young man turns up dead in the water, and I know there's a controversy surrounding this, I mean, we know she knows that because she's gone online and posted it, then why not hand it over to police?
He asked the question directly. If a young man turns up dead in the water, and a witness knows there is controversy surrounding it, and she has gone online to post about it, then why not hand it over to police? That question does not go away.
You want the truth. is what you want. You want the truth. And let's
Yeah, and that would be the video.
Yeah. Remember, Nancy.
Okay.
It's not consistent.
Brandon Tatum is joining us. So after all that, all you have to say is, was she drinking? That's your takeaway from that?
Then the conversation shifted, not toward the video, not toward the timestamp, not toward the altercation, toward whether the witness had been drinking. That is where the argument turned.
I want to talk about not what you want to talk about, Brandon Tatum, which is they had nothing to do with this because I met them and I believe them. So noted. Can we talk about a potential witness to an altercation? And she seems to suggest it was over Katie. Why? Don't know what the altercation was. Maybe it was, hey, leave her alone and get on the boat. Or leave her alone, she's my girlfriend. Or it could be anything. But if there is a witness placing Nolan seemingly in the water, I can't tell that, but having an argument with
Officer Brandon Tatum, who has interviewed the acquaintances, said he had never heard of this altercation before. He said Katie, whose text messages he reviewed, did not mention it either. But Nancy Grace pressed on the only fact that mattered. If a witness places Nolan in an argument with another person on Horn Island, it could prove or disprove the timeline.
Well, Nancy, I think that it's a big obstacle to climb here because I've never heard of this altercation whatsoever. Nobody that I've talked to have alluded that this altercation was real. And also Katie, whom I saw her text messages, she didn't even say this altercation occurred. What I will say is that if I was an investigator in this investigation, I want to hear that. I want to be able to compare that information to other things that we may have or other witness statements. But I don't think it's significant because it doesn't show if Nolan Wales was actually killed in that altercation. She's claiming that there was an altercation between him arguing with somebody else. There was a potential fight, but that doesn't get me to how did he drown? How did he get in the water? And how did he not recover and come home to his family? So I would take that into consideration. I would compare that to the other interviews that I.
Tatum dismissed it. He said the witness does not show how Nolan drowned. He said the altercation does not explain how Nolan got in the water. He said he was skeptical because no one else had described anything close to a fight, but skepticism is not evidence, and the absence of other statements is not a contradiction. The paperwork already knew.
Number one, he's dead shortly after an alleged altercation with another male. We think over a woman. See, in my world, I put together both circumstantial and direct evidence. Direct evidence would be, for instance, DNA or a fingerprint. Circumstantial evidence is the timing of the alleged altercation and his death. Right?
Nancy,
it's hard for me to believe that there's some kind of altercation on Horn Island just before he dies. And
Nancy Grace stated the obvious Nolan was dead shortly after an alleged altercation with another male. The timing is the circumstantial evidence. Direct evidence would be DNA or a fingerprint, but circumstantial evidence is still evidence, and the sequence matters.
Well, Nancy, she's not saying he lost the fight. She's not saying that he got beat up. If you look at the autopsy, there's no clear signs of blunt force trauma to his face or any of the vital areas that could kill him. So it doesn't appear that there's any indication that he lost a fight, that there was enough trauma in this particular fight that would lead to his death. And when you look at the autopsy, there is no blunt force trauma to his face.
Tatum argued that the autopsy showed no clear signs of force trauma to Nolan's face or vital areas. He said there were no lacerations to the back of the head. But that does not end the inquiry. Fist fights do not always leave visible fractures, and a body in warm water for days does not preserve every mark.
Morgan, Joe Scott, if there had been not a blunt force trauma that Officer Tatum is describing, but a fist fight, if there had been a fist fight, plus body in water for multiple days, body decomposition, would you expect to see red marks on the hands at that juncture, on the face? What would you expect if there had been a fisticuffs?
Forensic death investigator Joseph Scott Morgan addressed what a fist fight would leave behind: contusions, abrasions on the fingers, marks on the knuckles, points of contact. He said the second autopsy included a coronal sectioning of the face, multiple incisions, and the physician performing it found no clear evidence of blunt force trauma.
On the leading edges, or what we refer to as the blade of the arm, right here on the forearm, the back of the hands, the knuckles, those points of contact, and certainly if there's facial strikes going on with him, which we find with blunt force trauma many times with fisticuffs, as you say, you'll see these strikes, you'll see marks on the face. There's nothing to indicate that in the second autopsy. Now, what the state has, I don't know, but I do know this. I know they're saying they're done with the autopsy and that it's complete, which means the gross findings.
But Morgan also said something more important. The state says the autopsy is complete. The gross findings are done. The histology is done. The report is finished. They just have not released it. So the public is being asked to accept a conclusion without seeing the document that supports it.
Joe Scott, when the body has been in the elements, such as the water, for that long, how can I confirm if he had been drinking or not?
Oh, you can still pull a BA, blood alcohol, or blood ethanol level, as it's referred to. And again, Nancy, we're not talking about someone that has been down for weeks and weeks. We can still do the BA, and it can come from urine, blood. We can still draw urine and find it pretty effectively. You'll have what's referred to as qualitative. We've talked about that.
Morgan explained that a blood alcohol level can still be pulled from a body that has been in the water for days. Not from urine, not from a breath test, but from blood or tissue. The liver is the best candidate, and he said Nolan had not been down long enough to cause the ability to get a quantitative amount. In plain terms, they can test it. So what did the test show?
I saw this text message. We reached out to the girl on her social media. She never responded to us. I don't know if she ever really sent it in to the police, but it is problematic, in my opinion, if she hasn't. If you're going to say somebody is going to spend time in jail, or you're alluding to the fact they've committed a crime, and the fact now that we know that Nolan did not survive being out there at Horn Island, and you never submitted that to law enforcement, there's a potential that that's tampering with evidence. If you have evidence of a crime and you're withholding that from law enforcement, and you knowingly and intentionally.
Then a new legal problem emerged. If the witness has evidence of a possible crime and knowingly withholds it from law enforcement, that could be tampering with evidence. Not a moral failure, not a public relations problem, a potential criminal exposure. The witness is not just a bystander. She is now part of the record.
No. Morally, it's wrong. But there is no duty under the law that you have to report yourself as a witness, that you have to volunteer information. You can stand on the side of a pool and watch somebody drown and do nothing unless you have a fiduciary capacity. And it's not a crime in our jurisprudence. So nothing is compelling her under the law to come forward. However, interesting, she did post it. She did identify herself. She did say she was going to police, and that would be my first line of cross. Did you take this to the police? And if she said no, all HELL break out in that courtroom. If you have...
Dubet corrected that. There is no legal duty to volunteer information. You can stand at the side of a pool and watch someone drown and do nothing, unless you have a fiduciary duty. But then he added the line that matters. If she said she was going to police and did not, then the first question on cross-examination would be devastating. He said fur would fly.
Hearing that somebody who has an inside source is saying the DA's office in Mississippi is now looking at the Nolan Wells case as a criminal investigation and no longer an accidental drowning. Now, we can only pray that this is true. Obviously, we can't celebrate. We can't get excited at all because I have not seen Ben Crump announce this. It is not being reported by any other major media sources, but there are rumblings.
From Sam Crouppen. All right. I would like to point out that his source is a, quote, little birdie.
And then the scope changed. Reports emerged that the district attorney's office in Mississippi is now looking at the case as a criminal investigation, not an accidental drowning. The source was described as a little birdie. That is not evidence, but it is a signal.
Because finally the DA came out and said, look, I can't release anything that's going on, but let it be clear, and I'm paraphrasing, that we are investigating this with a grand jury.
Susan Hendricks, you're absolutely right. She states most recently, this is the elected district attorney, my obligation and commitment is to present the grand jury with all the evidence collected in the case in order for them to reach a decision based on a thorough investigation, complete evidence presentation, the actual truth, and an understanding of the law. I'm obligated to do so in keeping with the law and the rules of the court. She goes on to state, I stand firmly on the rule of law and my ethical obligation. That is what the people of Jackson County elected me to do. I will present the grand jury with a thorough, complete, and fair investigation into the death of Nolan Wells. Now, is there a criminal investigation? According to some,
The district attorney's own words were more measured. She said her obligation is to present the grand jury with all the evidence collected. She said she would follow the law and the rules of the court. She said the investigation would be thorough, complete, and fair. None of that confirms a criminal investigation. None of it denies one either.
I understand the public's urgency to know what happened to Nolan, but we are not taking time for time's sake. We are taking the time required to complete the work this investigation demands. Since Nolan was reported missing, local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies have worked around the clock investigating what happened to him. Every piece of evidence must be examined. Every credible lead must be followed to its conclusion. Every witness interview must be analyzed in context of all other evidence. The pressure for answers does not change what the work requires. Our responsibility to Nolan and our community is to complete this investigation thoroughly, carefully, without compromise, supported by the evidence and worthy of the confidence of the people we serve. I also understand that many people have questions about why more information has not been released publicly. In Mississippi, the rules of professional conduct restrict the information a prosecutor can release during an investigation. Our restraint in communicating facts and evidence is not an effort to keep the truth from the public. It is an effort to protect.
She also said the rules of professional conduct restrict what a prosecutor can release during an investigation. That is true. But restraint is not silence. And the public is left with a single unresolved question. If the video exists, and the timestamp exists, and the altercation existed, then why has the full record not been handed over? The paperwork already knew.
was there an altercation? Did it break out into a fist fight just before he is killed? Did he drown? What was the true cause of death? We are waiting for facts to allow the truth to unfold. Tonight, we remember an American hero, Officer Dustin Krish, Carrollton PD, Georgia, just 33, killed in the line of duty after 3 years on the force, leaving behind a grieving wife, Emily. American hero, Officer Dustin Krish. Thank you to all of our guests, but especially to
The Jackson County Sheriff's Office has asked anyone with information to call 228-769-3063. A reward of $125,000 is available for information leading to the truth, but the truth does not need a reward. It needs a timestamp, it needs a video, it needs a witness who stops posting and starts producing. Until then, the grand jury waits, and so does Nolan Wells' family.